All right, and welcome back to the Kohler Show. This is episode 14. Today is December 1st, 2022. Almost done with the year. Did you enjoy Thanksgiving? Are you ready for Christmas? What a magical time of year it is. I know that people love Christmas and all this, but I can never get behind Christmas and Thanksgiving. Well, Thanksgiving's all right, but Christmas is just so cheesy to me. It's so cheesy the way that people get into Christmas with especially the music. The music's just god awful. It's awful. If you listen to that Mariah Carey song more than once this year, you're going to hell. Okay, today we're talking sports. We got college football conference finals coming up, or conference championships coming up. There was one big win last week we're going to talk about. U.S. soccer advances into the next round, and we got NFL talk. So let's start with the U.S. and the World Cup, which, again, huge event on the world stage. I don't understand it. I don't think I ever will. U.S. soccer beats Iran to advance to the round of 16 against the Netherlands, which will be played on Saturday. Saturday is going to be a jam-packed sports day. I am pumped. But yeah, they won. I guess this is pretty much the farthest they get is like the round of 16. I think they've made it past the round of 16 one time. What I wanted to highlight here, because this kind of bothered me. So Tyler Adams, who is on the men's national team, was asked about, he was being interviewed by Iran reporters. And he made the mistake one time of saying Iran, which is how most Americans say the country name. And there's, obviously global issues going on right now with the countries, and, we may not be in the best terms with Iran. But yeah, he said Iran, which the reporter, the Iranian reporter got pretty upset with. And it's one of those things where, like, it's one of those things that's kind of pushed as, like, it's racist if you get the thing wrong and the name wrong. And, like, there's no, like, people say that's just like one of those race things. It's part of like white privilege a lot. And Tyler Adams is black, which it's irrelevant because it's more country to country in the World Cup. But again, it's one of those things where my name's Kohler, and I feel like anytime something, if it's spelt weird, if it's pronounced weird, if it's not pronounced the way it seems, there should be a little bit of wiggle room there, right? Like, my name's Kohler. Whenever I say, hi, my name's Kohler to somebody, I get Connor, Collar, Colin, Collier. I don't know where the Y comes in. Collar, like, everything but Kohler when I say Kohler. Now, the same thing, I grew up in Nevada, and a lot of people in other places call it Nevada. Or, like, same with Oregon. Some people call it Oregon. And I don't know where any of that came from. But, like, it's Nevada, not Nevada. It's Oregon, not Oregon. My name is Kohler, not Collier. And, like, it's just one of those things where, like, people take it so personally. The name thing. It's just, I don't know if that's, like, an ego thing. But it's just, like, so dumb to get upset about that. But anyways, the Iranian reporter, after asking that question and correcting Mr. Adams here on the pronunciation of Iran, asked, quote, "Are you okay to be representing your country that has so much discrimination against black people in its borders?" Because Tyler Adams is black. And I don't know if this was like trying to get him off his game type thing or like what, like, I don't know why in the past couple years sports has been so politicized. Like this is a guy who's about to go play a soccer game. And he's being asked about discrimination in his country, in one of the most diverse countries in the world. Last time I checked, Iran is pretty one note there. There's not a lot of diversity going on in there. It's mostly, Middle Eastern and Muslim. So I don't know why this question was asked. Unless he was just like trying to get him off his game and like try and stoke that race fire, but it's kind of inappropriate for a soccer match. But I really like Tyler Adams' response here. He said there's this discrimination everywhere you go. One thing that I've learned, everywhere you go, like in Iran, it's illegal to be gay pretty much. So, I mean, there's discrimination. One thing that I've learned, especially living abroad these past years, having to fit in different cultures, is that in the U.S., we're continuing to make progress every single day. I grew up in a white family with an African-American heritage and background, so I was very easily able to assimilate into different cultures. Not everyone has that ease and the ability to do that, and through education, I think it's super important, like you just educated me right now on the pronunciation of your country. I think that was I don't know who the head of the PR team is and for the men's national team, but that was a perfectly worded response. Like, all those words fit into that response. You can't take any of those words out and it have to be the same. Like, it's just perfectly worded. He nailed that response, and it was on the spot, which kudos to Mr. Adams. That was beautiful. But yeah, he's right. Like, first off, this shouldn't be even talked about at the World Cup. This is more like kind of our thing to handle. Everywhere you're gonna have to deal with this. It's just kind of how human nature works. It's kind of a shitty part of human nature, but it is what it is. It's kind of like bullying. Like, you're never gonna get rid of bullying. If you suppress it, it's just gonna come up in another spot. And yeah, I mean, good on him. It was a good response. We beat Iran. We're headed to the next round. Netherlands is next. From what I understand, we have a good shot at beating Netherlands. Our best player hurt his dick, so he might be out, but with a pelvic contusion. He's saying he's going to play. I don't know what any soccer injury means. I don't know any matchup, anything in a soccer game. From what I hear, we have a good chance at beating the Netherlands. I don't know. But yeah, I'll be watching Saturday at 9 a.m. U.S. plays Netherlands to advance in the World Cup. Now, let's talk about more serious and important things. This past Saturday, Michigan played Ohio State to basically go to the Big Ten championship, go to the college football playoff. Now, all off season, last year at this game, when Michigan beat Ohio State at Michigan and Ann Arbor, we were constantly told that it was snowing and cold and windy, which is just a perfect storm for the way Michigan plays football. CJ Stroud was sick, so the Ohio State team was sick, is what we were told. Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo were both first round. Well, Ojabo was picked in the second round, but he was on track to be a first round pick until he tore his Achilles. We were told that those guys just got crazy pressure, and we got lucky because of that. We were told that Michigan just established the run, and in Ohio State's defense was struggling because of the defensive coordinator. And so Ohio State goes out and they get a new defensive coordinator from Oklahoma State, Jim Knowles. And Michigan actually loses their offensive and defensive coordinator. Josh Gaddis goes to Miami to be with loser Mario Cristobal. And Mike McDonald goes to the NFL to be the defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. And we have to bring in Jesse Minter, and we promote Sharon Moore and Matt Weiss to their new coordinators, and everybody's saying it's not going to work. And Cade McNamara is our quarterback that leads us to the college football playoff, and we bench him for J.J. McCarthy, who's a 5-star quarterback, and everybody's saying, oh, J.J. can't throw the ball. We can't throw it deep. We're completely relying on the run game. And then it goes into the Illinois game, and Ohio State played Maryland the week before. And everybody was saying how, like, if Blake Corum's hurt, then Michigan can't win this game because Blake Corum hurts his knee against Illinois. Donovan Edwards missed that game with a thumb injury. Luke Schoonmaker, our tight end, was hurt. Mike Morris, our best defensive player, was hurt. He only ended up playing 16 snaps in the Ohio State game. And all of this leading into this was C.J. Stroud was supposed to be this Heisman candidate, and Marvin Harrison was the leader for the Biletnikoff Award and the best receiver that we've seen in college football in forever, many years of all time. And everybody was talking about how Michigan really stood no chance. If you looked at all the playoff predictions, which, by the way, extremely lazy, the playoff predictions, they just take the rankings that the teams finish in and then put them in the bowl games that their conferences are supposed to go to. Very lazy, but I read them anyways. And the whole year, Michigan was predicted Rose Bowl, Rose Bowl, Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, whatever bowl that's not in the college football playoff, because Ohio State was going to beat them and go. And everybody was talking about, like, Ohio State had this chip on their shoulder and their scars from last year, and Ryan Day did everything he could to get them ready for this next game. And then Michigan shows up. Blake Corum's hurt. He doesn't play. Mike Morris only plays 16 snaps. Luke Schoonmaker only plays a few snaps. Donovan Edwards is okay. Ohio State is stopping the run through the first half, and they go into halftime 20-17. Ohio State is up. At Ohio State, beautiful day. No weather excuses. It was mid-50s, sunny, no wind. Michigan comes out in the second half, puts on a beautiful drive where all of a sudden they're running the ball, throwing the guys that are open, moving the ball, and they score, and then they don't look back. They just really put it on Ohio State. It was 28-3 in the second half scoring. Michigan outscored them. It was beautiful. It was beautiful to see all the Ohio State fans in the stands just crying, leaving early, hands over their head. Donovan Edwards is breaking 75, 85-yard touchdown runs. It was a beautiful sight to see because this team has been so arrogant about this rivalry, as they kind of should be, because Michigan struggled the past couple of years, past decade plus. But last year, Michigan came in, or Ohio State came into Ann Arbor, and Michigan beat them down. And this year, it was kind of treated like that was a fluke, and it was not. And Ohio State now is going to go, and they're relying on possibly a TCU loss or a USC loss to get into the college football playoff. And that's never a space you want to be in, because it's all going to be up to debate now. So that was just, I mean, if I could just live the rest of my life in the second half of that game, I would. It was just a beautiful feeling. But yeah, it's over. This rivalry is a rivalry game again, and Ohio State cannot overlook Michigan. Donovan Edwards will be back. Blake Corum won't probably, but Donovan Edwards, J.J. McCarthy will be back. Colston Loveland all of a sudden looks like an absolute stud. We have receivers still there. I think the passing game really is going to be opened up here. The end of this season and then next year, it's going to be a huge part of the offense. And I mean, the offensive line will be there. The defense will be there. It's Michigan. Michigan's kind of back. They need to pick it up in the recruiting game a little bit, but Michigan's back. So here's what the playoffs are looking like. It's going to be Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC right now. And I think that's how it's going to stay. I don't see any of these teams losing. I think TCU has the best shot to lose. And even if they lose in a close game, I don't know if they should drop out of the playoff. Because Ohio State just got absolutely pummeled by 22 points at home to a team that's in the playoff. Bama has 2 close losses on the road. Tennessee's lost their quarterback. So it's tough. It's tough for me to say that it's going to change. But this is what I was saying about the 12-team playoff needs to happen, and it just actually was announced a couple hours ago that 2024-2025 will be the 12-team playoff. But this is what we would be looking at is potentially Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC getting buys. So those teams would be in. Clemson versus UNC winner would get in. And UNC could beat Clemson, who just got beat by South Carolina last week. And then you got Ohio State, Alabama, Tennessee will make it in still, even though Hendon Hooker's hurt. Penn State, and then we're looking at like Washington, LSU, Utah, Kansas State, Tulane, Florida State, and Oregon. All those teams would be in the mix still. Would that not be more exciting? Like, is anybody saying that Ohio State and Bama, if they made it into a 12-team playoff, couldn't make a run at the national championship? Like, they could beat a lot of these teams. Penn State has the talent. They could upset a team. Clemson, if they made it in, they have the talent. I don't know if they have the coaching and whatnot, but they could make it in and upset a team. It's just, I've already gone on this rant so many times about how stupid people are that argue that we need to keep the 4-team college playoff so that we can argue about who gets in every week, which is so much less exciting than just having the teams play. But that would be it would be electric. Here, let's just go through my picks right now. I'm going to take USC minus 2.5. I'll take Kansas State plus 2.5. I think that's a close one. The University of Ohio in the MAC championship against Toledo's kind of not hot right now. I'll take Ohio plus 1. I'll take the over 55 for some last end of the year action. I think Georgia smokes LSU, who just lost to Texas A&M. I think Georgia smokes on the lines at minus 17.5 right now. I think Tulane comes back and beats UCF. That line's minus 3.5. I think over 57 is a safe bet on that one. I'll take UNC plus 7.5. Clemson has not been playing good. North Carolina actually hasn't either, but I think North Carolina can keep it within a score. Michigan minus 16.5. Love it. I mean, we're playing Purdue. There's kind of some stuff going on with Michigan right now with Mozzie Smith, I guess, with a gun charge, but I still think minus 16.5 we beat them. And then Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt Championship game, plus 8.5 against Troy. I'm going to take that. Grayson McCall, we still don't know if he's going to play, but that Coastal Carolina coach, I don't know why nobody's looking at him. He's been pretty solid. Let's go to the NFL. Teams are prepping for their last kind of signings, free agent signings, to get their rosters in shape for a playoff run. And Odell Beckham Jr. was on his way to visit the Cowboys. And he got kicked off the plane at 9:30 a.m. It says it was a medical emergency. They were trying to wake him up. He was in and out of consciousness. So he got kicked off the flight. And this is because there's nothing else really going on in NFL media. So we need to talk about this. It's been like the big news of the week. I know that Odell's had kind of issues in the past with like the way he's behaved, but he's not like Antonio Brown. Like, he's made some bonehead moves. I like bonehead. That's a good way to describe it. He's made some bonehead decisions, but like, he's not like a bad guy, I would say, and he's a good player you would want on your team if you're a contender like Dallas. I really don't think this is a story. I think he probably took an edible. Like, that's what this seems like, is he took an edible and got a little too drowsy and was kind of like out of his, you take an edible, you take a little bit too much, and a few little milligrams, and you're not all there. So I'm going to say that's probably what happened. And everybody's like, oh, you can't, if he gets drug tested. Well, it's like, shut up, dude. Like, can we get over the marijuana thing? Can we just federally legalize that at this point? I don't understand why it's still a big deal. All right, moving on. The Cowboys making a run. Deshaun Watson, who famously was in trouble, he had a little oopsie where he accidentally was charged with 23, was it 26? Over 20 alleged sexual assaults with masseuses in the Houston area, which led him being like traded from the Houston Texans and ended up in Cleveland, where he signed a fully guaranteed long contract, but it was handed 11-game suspension. And he's back, and they're ironically in Houston this week playing. I don't know how that worked out. That's crazy. Yeah, and I guess 10. It says about 10 of the women who accused Watson of sexual harassment and assault are going to the game. So he says some of my client, or the lawyer of this suit said some of my clients asked to go. They thought it's important to make clear that they are still here and that they matter. And I think if anything malicious and if he used any kind of power over these women to make them do things that they didn't want to do, and they expressed that they didn't want to do them at the time, but he still forced them to do it, or he made an inappropriate move on them, also inappropriate. What I was waiting to see with all of this stuff is a list of like detailed accounts of what happened here, because everything is kind of real vague with this. And I get that like it's if this sort of thing happens to you, you don't want it all maybe out there, but maybe if we left out the names, as far as I could find, I couldn't see anything other than like vague accounts that were left out. There wasn't like a patient or is it patient or accusation 1, like he did this to me, accusation 2, he did this to me. Like it wasn't like that. It's just like he exposed himself, he touched them, he kissed them against their will. One of these says he forced them to have oral sex, which, like, was it at gunpoint? I don't know. There's just like a lot of. I read one of the accounts was he was laying there. The masseuse left the room, came back in to find him jerking off on the table, and then he jerked off on her face. Which, like, there's some middle in there where there's something could have happened. Because, if you're laying down and she walks in the room, now he is an accurate quarterback, so I don't know. But I would think you'd be able to get out of that one. I don't know. I just think it would be better for the public opinion if we to paint this guy as like this awful monster. And I know that this is like a crazy amount of accusations. Like, I think it's I can't remember if it's 26 or 23. We'll just round up and say 30. It was 30. Theoretically. And it's just like, I don't know. I guess we'll just go with, yeah, he's a bad guy. So it's one of those things where it's like you get to that level of fame and I don't know. It's just, you think you can do whatever you want. You can't. But I would have liked to know all the stuff that went down, because it's hard to be like, I hate this guy for doing this when you don't know what he fully did. So yeah, Deshaun Watson's back. That's interesting. Let's talk Lions. The Lions choked away their game against the Bills there on Thanksgiving Day. I said that it was likely going to happen. They did cover still. I said that was going to happen. I don't know, man. It's the Lions. They're not there yet. It's going to happen. The Bills are in my opinion, one of the 2 Super Bowl contenders right now. It's them and the Chiefs. I don't think there's really anybody on the other NFC that can compete with them. It's just, it is what it is. And they kicked that field goal there. I mean, now there was some coaching decisions where you're like, you should have ran the ball on that 3rd and 1 instead of throwing a nothing fade down the sideline that wasn't even close to DJ Chark. But I mean, that was a game that we weren't supposed to win that we were in up until the last couple seconds. It was going into overtime. So I'm okay with it. We got the Jags this week. It'll be a good game. Yeah, I think this is a one we can win. Jags in Detroit. I think we can win that one. The other team that I really liked on the NFC side to compete with the AFC right now was the 49ers. But as it happens with the 49ers, they always have issues with injuries. Elijah Mitchell looks like he's out for the year probably. Christian McCaffrey's already banged up, which was kind of the fear with him. Not saying that it's over because they always find running backs that can run the ball. They did trade Jeff Wilson to the Miami Dolphins, which is that kind of hurts. Without, they got rid of Trey Sermon. I don't know. They have like Tevin Coleman now. But yeah, 49ers hurt again. I really think that it's like the Chiefs' league to lose. All these rookies that they have are really coming into form, and the Chiefs really they look good, and I don't think anybody's going to beat them. I think they're going to lock up home field advantage through the playoffs in the AFC. Patrick Mahomes, he's already won a Super Bowl. They got everything you need to win. So as of right now, I say the Chiefs have this locked up. I was going to talk about Jeff Saturday, but I don't want to talk about Jeff Saturday. Here's the card right now for the NFL that I like going into the weekend. I like Green Bay -4.5 against, I believe, let me see. Let me pull this up. NFL schedule. I like -4.5 against Chicago without Justin Fields. I like Detroit money line, as Jacksonville is favored against Detroit in Detroit. I'll take the Lions. Minnesota -3 against the Jets. I like Tennessee +5 against the Eagles. I think that's going to be a close, low-scoring game, so I'll also take under 44.5. Miami +4 against San Francisco. Miami's kind of buzzing right now. San Francisco's kind of hurt right now. San Francisco's defense is elite, though. That one, put an asterisk next to that one. I don't know about that one. Seattle -7.5 against the Rams. Aaron Donald's ruled out. Matthew Stafford's likely ruled out. Cooper Kupp's already out. Seattle can score. I don't see the Rams being able to score without all those guys. Cincinnati +2 against the Chiefs. I think that's also a close one. It's in Cincinnati, so the Bengals have a chance against that one. I like over 53. That's going to be high scoring. Jamar Chase is back. Las Vegas +2 against the Chargers. Chargers have been struggling. Vegas is kind of on a run, back-to-back weekends winning in overtime. It's in Vegas, so at Allegiant. It's not a primetime game. It looks like it's 325. So yeah, I'll take Vegas +2 and the over at 50.5 on that one. And then Indianapolis +11 against Dallas. Dallas is playing really good right now, but 11 points is just a lot. It is at Dallas too. I don't know, but yeah, +11. Micah Parsons likely will have a bunch of sacks in this game. This is kind of one where you just have to take the points for the points' sake, as Indianapolis has played their games close since Saturday's taken over. They choked the one against Philadelphia away, and it's a primetime game. You're playing Dallas. You're in Dallas. 11 points. Why not? Again, asterisk against that. Asterisks on the Indianapolis and the Miami games. But yeah, that's where we're at. That's where we're going to go into the weekend with. A lot of good sports this weekend. Hope you enjoy it. Have a good one.